What does giving a speech, actually opening up, coming out to your audience, whether it's in the boardroom, staff room, or in an auditorium, you're the speaker, you're coming out, you're opening. What does your opening, your speech opening, have in common with giving a conversation or starting a conversation? Starting a conversation, your conversation opening. So, what does a conversation opening have in common with a speech opening? Hi, everyone. I'm Dorothea Hendriks, your communication coach in presentation skills and in public speaking. Both. You're starting a conversation, you're initiating a conversation, and you are giving a presentation in front of a small group, a big group, it doesn't matter. But the opening of your presentation and the opening of your conversation, your goal here in those openings is to engage the person you are speaking to, engage the audience you are speaking to, engage them in a positive way so that they lean into what you're saying and they want to participate. You're building their curiosity. You're bringing them into what you are talking about. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, who wouldn't want to do that? Sometimes we think we're doing it, but we're not. Let me give you an example. A number of years ago, and this is in regards to a presentation, but people also do this in conversation. But let me go to my story here about the presentation. A number of years ago, I was I was sitting in the audience, maybe about 400 people. I was also scheduled to speak later that evening. But earlier in the evening, there were a number of speakers, and this one speaker comes out amid thunderous applause. Looks good, professional, stands in front of the audience. Everybody's waiting. What is this person going to say? The silence was almost deafening. And then the speaker says, "I hate you." The speaker paused. Again, stronger. "I hate you." Pause. Again, the speaker said even stronger, "I hate you." And then paused. Then the speaker started into speaking and explaining, giving a bit of background information as to why those words, "I hate you," were directed at the audience. However, the audience did not respond in the way the speaker, I imagine, had hoped. When the speaker came out and the first words spoken were directed at the audience with strong feeling about "I hate you," the audience was taken by surprise. And I think on the second one, the audience now, you can just feel the audience not only being surprised, but pulling back. And on the third, "I hate you," the audience actually withdrew from the speaker. You could, the whole dynamic of the room, where there initially was enthusiasm when the speaker was introduced, because all the speakers were uplifting, that had preceded the speaker, and now somebody comes and directs it with, "I hate you." It had the opposite effect of what I'm sure the speaker intended. The speaker thought that this would bring attention, and it did. That this would bring kind of a heightened curiosity. It may have, but that curiosity actually took refuge in pulling back, in the audience becoming defensive. And when an audience is defensive, it closes up. The audience is defensive. It is not open, not receptive. Generally speaking, it is not receptive to anything else that the speaker is going to say. when you're giving something that is going to shock, and people say, oh, you can open up your presentation, shocking statement, whoa, gets the audience every time. Well, it does get the audience every time, but in what way do you want it to get the audience? If you want it to get your audience to ask questions, to go, oh, what happened? How did you feel that way? When did that occur? What? Why? How? When? You want the audience to get curious, not to be tuned out and turned off. So what that means is where you're giving something really shocking is sometimes to put that into context, to wrap a bit of a background, to wrap something around it or precede the shocking words. Might have been when something like, when I was a child, you know, the words I heard most often directed at me was, or were, I hate you. How many of you were in school and you had your classmates turn on you at recess and shout out, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you? If that happened to you, how would you feel? So right now, what I've done is I've put it into context, which means when I hear those words, I now have an understanding of where they're coming from and why they're coming out the way they are and how and why they might be directed at an audience, but not really at the audience. This is something that's coming through and trying to tap into my memory banks of what was it like for me growing up? What was it like for me going to school? My classmates, how do they treat me? How did we get along? So putting things into context, giving a bit of background information, somehow making it relevant to my audience is what's important here. It's great to give something that's bold and shocking and going to make the audience sit on their seats, so to speak. But it needs to be in context so the audience understands, and then the audience can join in with you, sympathize with you, be in agreement, or maybe not, but still they are with you. And now you're building a curiosity and you're engaging them and you're building a relationship. Now let me go to conversation. It's holiday time, Christmas time, festive season. So there are going to be lots of social events for most of us. We get out, we have conversations sometimes with people we know, and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we're going in not the best mood. And then we'll try to just keep ourselves strong. And then when we find someone that we're having a conversation or want to have a conversation with, sometimes what we do is we jump into it. We suddenly make a comment about something or share something before the other person really has an idea what that's in reference to. Because what we're doing is we're focusing on ourselves, on wanting to share what we got and spit it out. We're focusing on ourselves instead of the other person. Focusing on ourselves and dumping, although we may not think we're dumping, and somehow just think by my dumping of what's happened to me that the other person will automatically have sympathy and start engaging with me. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. All we're doing is a dump. So when we're thinking about dumping, we could preface it with, happy to meet you. Please, I hope you don't mind. This just happened to me, and can I just share it with you? I mean, oh my gosh, whatever it was, and you're sharing the conversation. Or you might be thinking about something else, and there might be somebody else that might be making a political comment. Never good to comment on those, but nevertheless, a comment of some sorts. And there you are again. You want to go, bleh, what? Hold your tongue and think about what context, what can I wrap around this? What background can I wrap around this so that I can move into this conversation and engage the other person and we can both be curious about what each other has to say. How you open up a conversation often determines how that conversation will continue and the type of relationship you developed with the person you're having the conversation with. How you open a presentation, a speech, regardless of where it is or the number of people you're speaking to, really determines how you're going to engage your audience, engage the people you're speaking to for the rest of the presentation, and how you're going to build their curiosity or not. The goal here is to build curiosity when you're building engagement so that you can build a relationship and have that continue long after your conversation is over, long after your speech is done and everyone's left the room. Have a positive feeling, leave a positive feeling in people's hearts and minds, especially this festive season. Wishing you all mountains of success and wishing everybody a very Merry Christmas and a new year that is just going to knock your socks off.